great to have Mandy Falaniko here.
Thank you.
It's obviously not your maiden name.
No. My maiden name was Cross.
Cross.
So Jesus represent.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
From way back.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a good Anglican name.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. My dad, he was raised into a Māori family, so he was adopted into a Māori family, so he had the surname Cross. So, yeah, but then went from Cross to Falaniko, which was an adjustment, but I carry it proud.
Yeah. So did your dad sort of connect with his Māori roots and all that?
Yeah, he did. He actually had the same kind of story as me, like didn't know his biological dad. So he was adopted into that family. His mother married a Māori, and so he was raised in that culture. So
In New Zealand?
yeah, he was raised in Tauranga.
Are you a Kiwi?
I'm an Australian.
Oh.
I was born in Brisbane, but I'm very much
Represent.
My mum was born in Auckland.
So you just can't get away from New Zealand, eh?
Man, no matter what I do.
The amount of people, they're just far.
I've always said Gold Coast is like West Auckland anyway. It's just an extension on Auckland.
It's so funny because I say to my parents all the time, like, our church chapel feels like I'm in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many Kiwis, hey?
You should have seen it 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why wasn't I there 8 years ago?
Well,
That's what
Mandy.
I asked God.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing it, Testify on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a little
Yeah.
Snippet.
10 minutes, so it's just an opportunity for people to get to know you a bit more.
Yes.
But here we can just sort of
Dive in.
dive
deeper.
in a little bit more.
Yes.
You've done presenting before, right?
I have.
For
I studied with Channel 7.
What?
Yeah, I know.
What were you doing?
Studying presenting, lifestyle presenting. So not news, but more of the kind of like getaway, but
Yeah, nice.
a little bit more
imagine that.
fashion,
Oh,
red carpet, new restaurant openings.
He goes, oh.
I'd be like
I know.
the getaway, the getaway
Yeah,
stuff.
getaway is cool. I'm
Get it.
interested in fashion. No, oh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Sorry, I'm just not disappointed in it, is what I meant to say.
Yes. I started off modelling as a little girl, and I started into the modelling industry and kind of fell into presenting by accident. I was asked if I'd be interested in presenting for some fashion weeks, and I just fell in love with it. And I was like, wow, like I really enjoy this. And I thought, how can I, get deeper into the industry? And yeah, so it was exciting, but I didn't do the whole news. I didn't want to be locked in a room. I wanted to get out about and stuff. So yeah.
Wow.
Fully
Yeah.
get it.
Where was that though?
In Brisbane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you spent quite a lot of time in Brizzy.
Yeah, I was born in Brisbane. And just chased the career in Brisbane growing up, that sort of industry. And
That'd be pretty cutthroat, wouldn't it?
oh, absolutely. Like very image focused, very Yeah, it's very hard, and I'd battled through quite a few things with that, and I'm out the other end now, obviously, but during the time you get so wrapped up in it, caught up in it, and you just realise how shallow it actually is.
Right.
How was it? Because that would have been like a bit of a dream, right? Is that right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then to then be in it, what was it like? Did you get disappointed pretty quickly, or was it a bit fun for a while?
You know what? It's like, it's exciting, the lights, the cameras, and you get to meet all different people. I was interviewing celebrities, and so you meet so many different people. But I was still in church at the time as well. So, but I knew deep down that wasn't the path that God had for me. Even though I really enjoyed it, I just was so determined to do my own thing and chase that. But God eventually called me out, and I had to surrender that and go, okay, God, you know the desires of my heart, you know how you hardwired me, like how you gifted me in different areas, and I'm just going to trust that you're going to, and my life is, that saying how people say, God changed my life, but don't change my lifestyle.
Oh, wow. That's a prayer.
Yeah.
So,
That's a prayer.
That is a prayer.
I'll do anything for you, Lord, as long as it's what I want to do for you.
it's so true.
We say that without saying that for sure. Yeah.
So true, though. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you've always had the God aspect in your life, right?
Always,
Yeah.
always. Growing up as a little girl, I was a very determined little girl, and I still am, but now it's for the kingdom,
Come on.
you know. And so, I was, just loved it, but God was, had other ideas.
How did he pull you out of it? I mean, pretty hard to let go.
Well, he pulled me out of it just before I fell pregnant with Winter Rose. Actually, I had one of the producers at Channel 7 who was training me and another guy in our group up to do some TV shows, and the Lord said to me, "This is not what I have for you. You need to pull out." I know. And I didn't understand it. And I was like, God, but growing up, I was so determined to do my own thing. I was disobedient a lot.
Can't relate.
So I'd actually, I was still like, in the last 15 years, I've always been like, God, no matter what it is now, because I was disobedient for so long, I'm going to be obedient now.
Yeah.
And I know his voice, he's
Right.
my friend, he's my
Yeah.
father. And when he asks me to do something, I'm going to do it, even if it hurts.
Yeah.
And it hurt and I didn't understand it. And then I found out a couple of weeks later I was pregnant. Wow, yeah.
Man, that's actually pretty significant. Because imagine there's actually the potential for finding out of the pregnancy and that being the reason that you got to leave, potential resentment. I've heard of people doing that before their kids, got pregnant and I had to stop doing what I love, but
Yeah.
instead you got to make the choice, and
Yeah.
that's wow.
He has a funny way of telling me before the event happens. And I just think, okay, God, and I just knew something significant was going to happen that would change the course of my life.
Wow.
And when it happened, I was like, okay, God, I trust you now. And it's not about me anymore. It's about, our daughter. So
How old were you at that point?
I was 26, 27. Yeah. So
Wow. How long had you been with V for?
actually, no, I wasn't 26, 27. I'm 35 now, telling my age. So she's 5.5, almost 6. So I was 29.
Oh, wow.
29 when I fell pregnant. V and I have been together for 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
How did you meet him?
we met at church.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not, we met at church.
I was about to say, how did you meet? Not at church, I'm sure.
You would think that. No, we met at church. And
Cool.
I wasn't interested at all. I met him. I was like, oh, yeah, he's another good-looking Islander. But
Why weren't you interested?
I was going through a bit of a time in my life where I just wasn't interested in dating. I'd ended previously a relationship. It was actually an engagement.
Oh, wow.
And he wasn't the one for me. It was very quick. It was only 6 months and he wasn't the one. So I ended that. And so I was on my own. I was like, I'm just me and God now. And so we met, and he said to one of the guys he went to the gym with, invited him to church.
Yeah.
And he walked in. I'm sure he's told you
Yeah,
this.
he was telling me this the other day. Yeah.
And so he's like, who's that? Because I was singing and he's adamant that I was looking at him from stage.
Oh, of course he was. Of course he was. She couldn't keep her eyes off me. Hey.
Yeah. But I wasn't. I can hardly see anyone. The lights are blaring in my eyes and no, but
Shelby.
I must have in passing looked at him, but he was living it up, So we met, and then I didn't see him again for 3-4 months. Well, someone introduced us in the aisle at church. This is Mandy, and they said, "Can I get her number?" And he was super shy, and I was wearing big high heels, so I'm 5'11", so I was 6 foot, towering over him. He was like, "Hello."
Wow.
So yeah,
The story's pretty similar from his point of view. I was going to lie and say something else, but no, it's straight.
yeah.
And I think he told me the guy that he was with was like, no.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty smart.
yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. But
Yeah.
it sort of developed from there.
it developed from there, and I actually saw him in a tagged photo on Facebook. I'm being straight up honest, and I was like, oh, that's that guy.
This is a while after, though, eh?
Yeah, so I had ended the relationship with the ex about 4 months before I met him, but because it was in church life, I'd kept it really quiet, and so no one else knew that I was really single, but I was. And then, I added him, and then he sent me an inbox straight away. And
straight away. This
God
guy.
is real.
Yeah. God is real. Yeah. So, and he'd actually just the day before moved to Orange, New South Wales for a football contract.
Oh, typical.
Yeah. I know.
It's crazy.
Where are you?
Why now, Lord? I'm not even in the vicinity.
Yeah, totally.
God's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
So that's sort of how then it was a long distance relationship.
A long distance relationship where my family had actually just moved to America and his family were in New Zealand, but he had a brother who lived in Griffith, which is about 7 hours from Melbourne. And he said to me, hey, you should come down and spend Christmas with me and my brother and sister and their kids. You can have your own room. Sure, it didn't work out. But I flew down because I was lonely. I was like, first Christmas without my family, and he was a great guy. And then we just started a relationship, and he was still a rat bag at times, that football culture and girls and stuff. And I was like, I'm not sure if this is really going to happen. And we were flying backwards and forth. And then one time we decided to go to church together as a new couple, and someone next to us, and this is a completely different church, didn't even know us, actually gave us a prophetic word, and we were both like,
whoa,
about us together and serving and leading by example for God. Right. So I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be with this guy.
Wow. So then you moved, did you?
Well, 4 months later, I'm pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then so he freaked out, obviously, and I freaked out. But I was like, well, you're either in or you're out, and this baby is being, is a gift from God. And
amen.
He just took him about 2 days to come into, 2 or 3 days to come into, okay. And he said, why don't you move down? And so I moved down and I was a city girl, so I'd grown up in the nightlife and the big career industry and working in the city. So moving to a country town, I was like, Orange, New South Wales.
Plenty to do.
Wow.
Plenty of Kmart. Kmart and Big W, my favourite stores.
Wow. And what was down in Orange?
Vineyards.
Oh, he was playing.
He was playing football.
Yes.
So he was living in an apartment that the club was paying for with another football player who had his family move down as well. And so I moved down, and it was my, first time pregnant. I was really sick. Like, I had the worst morning sickness. It's called hyperemesis gravidarum. It's like you're vomiting 30 times a day.
That's what I was going to say that.
Hypercremius.
Got it?
So, yeah.
Spell it.
H-Y.
Yeah, not me.
E-R-E-S-I-S.
Yeah. Wow.
So that would have been rough for both of you.
Oh,
wow.
yeah, because we were first time living together and Samoan, strong Samoan culture.
What?
Huh? What was hard?
What?
Yeah.
Samoan. Wow.
Yeah, no, just the drinking and the football culture, I would probably say.
More so, hey.
Yeah. So,
yeah, wow.
Oh, man.
yeah, so it was hard, but I was so
And no
sick.
family.
No family, literally. And it was rough because it was two different cultures coming together, and I'm a strong personality. He's a strong personality. So it was like butting heads, and I'm sick on top of that.
And I suppose not really in church? Like,
We were in church.
oh, okay.
It was a really hard time. And I just said to God one night, I said, God, I broke down in the shower. I was like, God, I just need you to intervene, either step in and radically do something, or I'm going to leave. And pack my bag a few times and never went through. Like something was getting me to stay, Holy Spirit. And that day he came home from work and sat on the end of the bed and said, I want to give God my whole life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man.
He says, I found a church. We're going to connect in. And it was an INC church, which I come from INC previously. And so I was like, oh, it would just be like family, you know. And so we got connected in, and I just remember being so sick during the preaching that the pastor probably thought I was bored and falling asleep.
I know that feeling.
Experiences at most Sundays.
Yeah, pretty much.
But no, it was great. They just loved on us. and-
Awesome.
What about, so you're like, God, come on, like intervene, do something. And then V comes home and
Comes
sits on your
home.
bed. Like that is
straight away. Yeah.
Because there's nothing about the world that he's living in that is going to promote
No.
him to act like that.
No.
It's the opposite.
Total opposite. Total opposite. But my mum always used to say to me, and even though he was saved, he was still dealing with stuff. She said to me growing up, Mandy, you can't expect non-Christians to act like Christians.
Yeah, fair call.
You know, and even though he was a Christian, it was still, God was still dealing with stuff and sifting stuff out, healing work and stuff, and him coming into his identity, not his identity as a football player. Someone football player.
It is actually a crazy story.
Yeah, there's so much to the story.
Because
Yeah.
he, not to make this about him, but he's pursuing like a dream, and you guys have just crashed together, baby on the way.
Yeah.
You've moved down there.
Yeah.
He's still pursuing the dream, but it's just not working.
Yeah.
You're pregnant, struggling, and you're just like calling out to God, and like I just can't help, like God's hand on both of your lives is just,
It's the goodness of God,
man.
really, yeah.
So then what happened? You guys get planted into a church there?
Planted into a church.
Was it close to where you were?
Yeah, Orange is pretty close
it's
to
Orange.
It's
Ripley.
one street. I haven't been there, but I can imagine it's one street. It's like,
That's what it's called, one street.
One street.
is that the name of the street?
No, I don't know.
But the thing I love about the church is it was called New Life
Oh,
Church.
come on. Come on.
So prophetic, you know, and
New Life Inc.
incorporated.
Oh, come on.
So,
Nice.
Small?
small church, great pastors. Very
Awesome.
different to what I was used to. I'm used to the big,
Yeah.
you know, everything's a spirit of excellence, and I was like, oh, this is just, you know, everyone's just raw and real, and
Average as.
Come on.
yeah. Well, I'm not being mean, but you know, like
Nah, average is good.
It was awesome. It shook me up. I needed that.
They just
Yeah.
embraced you guys?
Yeah, they did. They really
That's
did.
cool.
No one was
Yeah.
like, man, you need to get married now. And
No, we came into that on our own, you know, and you know, there was some times where we're that sort of religious mindset. Some people would be like, oh, we're not coming to the Connect group unless they're married, you know, the Connect group we're attending. But they're long gone. They're not there anymore. But
some people said that we're not coming to the Connect group because of you guys. Oh, that
we were
makes- that
connected
makes
into a
sense.
Connect group, yeah. And we were on the way to get married. We were engaged. But it's okay. You have grace and you love people.
Yeah.
Not everyone understands. And so we just were like, it's okay. And we ended up inviting them to our wedding.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Became friends. So
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful people.
That's
yeah.
nice. That's really nice.
And they wouldn't mind talking about that now. We laugh about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how long were you in Orange for?
6 years.
Wow.
Whoa.
So were you working as well?
I started working after I had Winter Rose. My profession was a hairdresser and makeup artist. So I was just doing like a little bit of weddings here and there, and it just started to build momentum. And every Saturday I would end up doing weddings, which was great.
That's cool.
But as a singer, we just had Winter, and I was we were really struggling with finances, and the Lord. Well, I was like, I'm going to go and get a job, like gigging, and God is so funny because He's not the same with everybody, you know. And He's like, no, probably because I'm so determined. He knew it would probably take me so far out. So He was like, nope. Yeah. Yeah.
Fully.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, God, are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I did a little bit of that. V he was still playing football when we first had winter, and then he kind of got into working in schools as an SLSO teacher aide, and he had a real heart for the youth and troubled kids, and so he just loved the kids, and really it was a miracle that God got him into that. He didn't have any qualifications, but God just opened the doors for him, and then he...
You guys, and I don't say him because ultimately it was a decision that you guys made together, but you guys chose to not pursue football, which was a very, almost a promising thing. He was lined up. You chose not to do your family and follow God, and that's pretty crazy. How was that?
Yeah, it was. We had just gotten married, and we flew over to the States for him to meet my family for the first time. And when we were there, we prayed with my parents, and we were like, God, we want to be really intentional with our time in Orange and what you have for us. We don't want to waste, what we want to do anymore. It's about what you want us to do. And so the minute we came back, it was like, God had just said to him, and he was like potentially going to play for the Dragons. So he had really promising contracts and stuff to possibly sign. But it was a journey. But God, there was still that longing to play until one time he came home with a really sore arm. Someone landed on him and he ended up having to get surgery. He had a plate and bolts put on his arm. And he still played with a broken arm.
Of course he did.
Yeah, so that's
Samoan.
Yeah, it took time. It didn't happen overnight, but he was like, "Okay, God, I trust you with my life now and my career, and I'm going to lay football down." Yeah.
Wow. So, how long ago did you move back up here?
December last year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And what brought that about?
Well, quite a few years ago. Well, when we first had winter, we were both like, "Oh, what do we do? Do we move back to Queensland?" And the Lord told us separately no. And he said, if you were to move back, I'd be pouring new wine into old wineskin. And then now that we're here, the Lord is like, it's now a new wine, it's ready. But he said to me 3 years ago, I was already happy. We were going to buy a house. We were super happy. I was like, roots. I'm a boots and all girl plant, roots down deep.
Awesome.
And he said to me, I think God's calling us back. And this was like about 3 years ago. And I said, no, I'm not moving back. I'm terrified of moving back. I don't want to fall back into, I don't know, I wouldn't. And then God, knowing me, he speaks to me through dreams. He actually gave me a prophetic dream of us driving to the Gold Coast in a white postal van. And so leading up to it with COVID and crisis and stuff, he used that crisis to transition us. And it was literally just, okay, God, we prayed and put out like a fleece with God. And we were like, okay, God, we'll apply for jobs here, here, and here, and here. And they'd mandated it as job. And for us personally, God was like, this is what I want you. This is the path I want you guys to go down. And being obedient to that, not understanding everything, going, okay, God, we're going to just trust in you. So he applied for Newcastle, Sunshine Coast, Sydney. The only door that opened for a job was the Gold Coast.
Wow. Come on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you moved here December last year.
December last year. Yeah.
Wow.
You guys spent 2 weeks in hotel quarantine.
We sure did.
Oh my goodness.
We sold everything. We weren't allowed to drive up at the time for the border restrictions, so we had to get our cars towed, which was another expense. We didn't have a house to move into, a rental, but we just trusted God, and we had incredible pastors at the time who were really good friends who were like championing us on, like, go for it,
So good.
like it was really
so
good.
nice.
And we stopped at the church before we were driving to Sydney, and we all cried and hugged, and so we spent Christmas in quarantine, Winter's 5th birthday, New Year's Day in quarantine. We actually had an early Christmas the week before so the girls wouldn't miss out.
Yeah.
And we just trusted in God. We were like, okay, God, you know what? Oh, man, you are our provider, and I know you're going to get us a house. And we moved up in a rental crisis.
Yes, absolutely.
You
On
know.
the
At the peak Of the rental crisis.
Of the rental crisis.
Around Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I love God though. He used the most critical crisis time to transition us. Not the easiest time. We could have just hopped, skipped and jumped over the border.
Yeah.
But we got there and halfway through, what was interesting, it was crazy because everything God was lining up for us to eventually arrive at chapel. And mutual friends, you know, had contacted chapel and you guys, and there was someone in the church who didn't even know us who opened up their home potentially for us for up to 8 weeks. And we were like, they don't even know who we are. We don't even go to chapel. And this, you know, that really just impacted us. And halfway through, God ended up providing and we got a rental. And
Wow.
And yeah, so it was just, we had moved out into our rental the day we got out of quarantine.
Oh, wow. How amazing
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah.
How hectic was quarantine with the kids? And
Was it Brisbane or Gold Coast?
Gold
quarantine?
Coast. We got moved from 2 different hotels. So we started off at the Sofitel and then we went into
At Broadbeach.
Broadbeach.
Wow, that would have been.
It was nice. We had a beach view and everything.
Sure.
And we had adjoining rooms, which was great.
Oh, perfect.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Got my food cooked for me. I don't have to do the washing.
so good.
That's cool.
The girls were happy.
Then you moved to where?
Hope Island. Oh no! For the second
Yeah.
quarantine, we moved to. I can't remember the name of the hotel, but it wasn't as great.
Not in Surface /
In
Broadbeach.
Surface.
Is it Crown? It's not Crown, is it?
Yeah, Crown Plaza.
Yeah, Crown.
Yeah.
Oh, that prison. Oh my god.
But compared to the Sofitel,
Yeah.
you just come. Oh my goodness! I'll do quarantine any day.
Exactly.
Sign me up. I drive past that place now and
The
it's-
Crown.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, it just looks like a prison. They've repainted it. Just because
yeah.
for ages you
Yeah.
just saw the cops there and the army.
I
And
know.
I'm driving past. I'm like, ugh, yuck.
It was
But,
crazy.
man,
Yeah.
wasn't too hectic in there. Kids going crazy or
No, you know what? It was just, I just felt like Holy Spirit was just really there the whole time and kept everybody
beautiful.
sane. And we actually really enjoyed it. And it was actually a roof over our head at the time.
Oh, it's
We
cool.
had nowhere to go. So we were like,
can we do another week?
yeah. But we had her birthday and I organised a cake maker to come and they dropped a cake off to the police
cool.
and
So
they
good.
brought it up with plates and a knife and we weren't allowed candles for health reasons, safety. So
Let's set the house on fire.
the house on fire.
Get everyone out.
Burn this ground down.
yeah. So,
Oh wow!
yeah.
And then so out of there, January into Hope Island.
Hope Island.
Real
Yeah.
hole of a place. Hope.
I know.
So that's
Like,
your
how
struggle.
horrendous is that?
Oh man, that's awesome.
No furniture. That's okay. That's all right. I had to go and do furniture shopping. I hated every minute of
Yeah,
it.
I'm sure. That's cool.
Next minute, 3 trucks arrive.
I know IKEA. You order a couch. It came 3 months apart.
Oh jeez.
Not that long, but
Yeah.
it felt like
Feels
it.
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So how did you hear about Chapel then? Did you know anyone on the Gold Coast?
Yeah, we knew Pat and Christine Masidi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And a couple of other friends who go to Glow Church,
Yeah.
you know, and everyone kind of invited us to their church.
Yeah,
and
nice.
we're like, okay, God, like, I think for me, I was like, I'm just so hungry for the presence of God, you know, and I was just like, God, just, you know, my people, you know, what would be our best community, and for us not having family in
Yeah.
Australia, I'm like, I really need that family unity. And you know, the Lord puts the lonely in families.
Yeah. Amen.
So we someone it was Lena actually who said, we go to
yo.
Gold Coast Chapel. She was the one who opened up their home.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Did you end up?
woman.
Did you end up
That's-
going to?
No.
Didn't need to.
We didn't need to.
Yeah, okay.
We didn't need to.
that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that conversation. Pat asked me if I knew anyone who could open their home. So that's when I'm
Yeah.
like, Lena.
Yeah.
And these were the ones that were going to stay there. Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, and then she's like, we go to Gold Coast Chapel, and I'm like, oh, that's lovely, thank you. Well, we'll definitely have to come check it out. And I remember the first time V came, the girls were sick, so I was staying at home, and he came home and he just said he just like wept the whole time.
Oh man.
First person he met was George.
There you go.
Love that.
Yeah.
And then I came and we just, it was just home, you know.
That's cool. So it's been
beautiful.
since January, pretty much.
January, yeah.
Time goes fast.
Yeah, I love how you described it, because there's a heap of, chapel over COVID, a heap of people
Wow.
appeared, so it's nice to hear you describing what I felt, years ago,
Yeah.
that it's still doing the same thing, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. What was, say, picking one of those hard things like giving up your career, and that whole industry, what sort of advice would you give to people, sort of in that space, in that, I suppose, image space,
Yeah. I think that you need to really know your identity, because you can swallow you up. You can think that you're something that you're not. For me as a Christian, my identity is in Christ. And I think for me, it's just, those gifts and those desires that he's placed in your heart, like they're there for a reason. We just have to trust in him that he's going to make things come to fruition, and his ways are so much higher than our own ways. And when I look back now, I'm so happy where I am. And I've just, my walk with God is more important to me than what I do for God. And that, coming from mistaking what I did for God as my walk with God, I really think that, just follow God, and he will, open doors that no man can shut, and his ways are so much better than our own. And
That's awesome, because doing it was Channel 7A, so presenting and walking that journey out, that was a real desire, that was a real dream for you.
Yeah.
And you still were able to go, man, I'm just going to...
Yeah, it was, I love speaking, I love communicating, and I was going into high schools and talking to, and just loved that. And, but none of that matters to me. Awesome. Like, God is my prize, God is my promised land. And so I just think sometimes when we focus on him, he takes care of the rest.
Yeah, come on.
And it's not about me. I think a genuine call from God will always be about others, but ambition will be about you.
Wow.
So I had to die to the ambition. And it still doesn't mean that I don't get to, like I have a business, that I love doing beauty, and it still doesn't mean that I don't work hard and I don't, set goals for myself and go, okay, God, how can I steward the gifts that you've given me in the particular career I want to do? But it's just more of the fact of dying to that ambition and going, okay, our call is to serve, and our call is to serve others. So however that may look, it will look different to everybody. But for me, it's just really about me and him now. Yeah.
And you're fulfilled in that?
Absolutely.
More than what you were doing the...
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I am. It's crazy. It's crazy to me because, I loved that, and I still would love to do something like that one day. Just maybe might look a little bit different, I don't know. I really don't know what the Lord has for me, but right now I'm just being faithful what he's put in front of me. Yeah. And just stewarding that well, and dying to my flesh, which is hard. But everything that I look with God is that I never would have thought we'd be on the Gold Coast. I never would have thought I would be married to a wonderful man with 2 beautiful girls. Like, I'm so fulfilled in that.
So good.
With God and where he's brought us, and the goodness of God over our journey, and just his kindness. So, and just... yeah, he knows me better than I know myself.
Yeah,
right.
Yes, indeed.
So,
That's awesome.
And what's life like at the moment? Like focused on, just embedding in community and stuff like that.
Yeah, just getting into serving and singing again, which I laid down when I was pregnant. The Lord said to me, "I'm calling you out, but it's not as you think." And I was like, "Okay, God, you're calling me out of worship," but he was literally calling us out of Orange altogether.
Oh wow.
And so, it just kind of happened naturally, and I'm loving it. And
were you always involved in music?
Yeah.
From when you were young and stuff? In the church and that?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And my family were all musicians. On my mother's side were all musicians and singers.
So you just naturally just sort of included in that?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. all the way up till when you went to Orange.
All the way up to when I went to Orange. I will tell you a funny story. This is pretty hilarious. So me thinking, oh my goodness, I want to make it big time. I was working at Napoleon Purtis in the city, and in Brisbane City, I just finished work. There was hundreds of people in Queen Street Mall on the main street. And they were auditioning these vocal auditions. It's like these singing auditions. And I've said to someone, oh my goodness, what is this? And they've gone, I think it's like one of those Australian Idol X Factor when they were really big. And I'm like, oh, forget it, I'm auditioning. And I could hear everyone else singing. I'm going, oh, I'm going to win this show because they're all right.
For real?
For real. And I literally gave my groceries to some random. Said, can you please look after them? They probably left. But I went to the judges panel and said, is it too late to audition? And they're like, no, fill this form out. You'll be the last one. I'm like, oh, saved in the nick of time. So I fill it out so fast. And they had a microphone, and I saw that everyone else wasn't. Like, they weren't allowed the microphone. I still went up and asked for the microphone, and they said no. That's okay, I don't need a microphone because I'm going to belt it. And so I said, I know how these shows work. They're going to see you like, a tall blonde, and I'm not going to do a pop song because they're going to be like, oh, that was so typical. So I thought, what could I do that would just spin them out of, and I thought, I'm going to sing Mustang Sally.
Wow, let's go.
Sung Mustang Sally, got everyone clapping. I was living with Christian girlfriends at the time, and I went back home and told them I'm going to get into a TV show, and they're going to send me a letter in the mail, and told everyone at church. I was doing victory lap dances. Like,
wow.
Like, I'm going to get into this TV show. Like, this is my big break, And weeks later, the letter comes in the mail, and I wait for my housemates to get home, and I sit there and I opened it, and straight away it says congratulations, and I'm like, yes. And so I open this letter, and it's like, dear Mandy, thank you for your audition. Congratulations. Your audition for a busking license has been granted.
No way.
A busking license for 3 months is what I had actually auditioned for.
Wow.
That's so good.
Wow.
So it was like, so then I had to untell everyone.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, what happened with X Factor?
Yeah.
What happened to the X Factor? Oh no,
Yeah.
it was
Well, I do my own X Factor down on the in the main street of Brisbane at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's cracker.
That's one of my music industry stories.
that probably was when the Commonwealth Games were on, maybe, and because they actually wanted a lot of street.
Yeah,
Really?
that's true. They
Street
did
art
that.
and street.
How old were you?
That was probably a couple of years before I met V. So maybe 24. I think I was 24, 25.
Com Games.
When were the Com Games? 18. Oh, that's only 5 years ago. Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, well. Interesting.
That's pretty funny. Thanks for sharing that. That's cracker.
Just had to add that in. Add a little
Big
spice
lit-
to the
big lit down.
Testify.
Yeah,
Big letdown.
so good.
So always a singer, eh? Always love that. That's what you love.
Loved it. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. You're singing at chapel now and stuff.
Thank you. It's so good. What a team, man, honestly.
Yeah, it's full
Wow.
A. It's stacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. And sharing an internship, heard some
Oh, thank you.
Good stuff.
some good stuff from some of the interns. That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love
There you
it.
go, eh? Good. Can't wait to have V testify.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I just think this is just the start of, I think you are a presenter, so to speak,
Very good.
but you'll be God's presenter,
Amen.
a presenter of Him. And I see
Amen.
it starting to happen in the community already, which is amazing, been here since last year. It's not something you're striving for. You guys just getting your roots down, which is the most important thing. So,
Yeah.
man, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
awesome.
for coming today.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having
We
me.
appreciate you guys.
Love you guys. Thank
You
you.
too.
Awesome.